Hello, welcome to the Motoring Middle East review. Today we're checking out the all-new for 2019 Chevrolet Silverado here in Trail Boss trim. Now the Silverado's been around for a while, but this one is completely new from hood to hitch. And actually we've got a couple of trims that are exclusive to the Middle East this time. We've got a Trail Boss regular cab, which is the two-door one, and we've got a RST one. I'll come back to those in a little bit, but first I want to get through some of the basics with this car. So what's new about this car? Well, 6 new front ends. Completely new frame, much stronger high-strength steel, aluminium for the hood, the doors, the tailgate, and some other bits as well to reduce weight, all in the aim of improving better fuel economy, but still keeping that same Chevy strength. So, I want to get the important stuff out of the way really quickly. Prices. Regular cab starts at $106,800. That's for the V6, but you probably don't want that one. You want a V8. V8 one, the Trail Boss right here, this exact car, 152,700 dirhams. Crew cab, which is the one that most people are going to buy, 143,000 for the V6. Again, it's a fleet car, don't worry about that too much. The 4-cylinder RST, oh, did I mention there's a 4-cylinder one? That's 171,000. There is a 170,000 Trail Boss version of this car. At the top end is the High Country, which is basically the all-singing, all-dancing trim. So quite a few new options, quite a lot to get through. Let's get started. So under the hood, we've got a lot of new engines. We've actually got a 2.7 litre turbo 4-cylinder. That's 310 horsepower, 348 foot-pounds of torque. It comes with the 8-speed auto, and that's on the crew cab, LT RST. Hopefully I got all that right. We've also got the venerable 5.3. That's 355 horsepower, 383 foot-pounds of torque, again with the 8-speed auto, again on the crew cab. And on the top on the crew country, the High Country, you get the 6.2 litre Mammoth engine, 420 horsepower, 460 foot-pounds of torque. 10-speed auto, so that's the same one shared with Ford and a few other people as well, Ford. The regular cab, this one, actually has the same combination engine as the old car. So same output, 355, 383, but this time it has the 6-speed auto. Now I'm not quite sure why that's the case. I imagine it's because they didn't want to re-engineer the car significantly for the 8-speed, and it's a good transmission as you're about to see. There's also the V6 one, the old V6, which is purely for fleets. I wouldn't bother buying it. 285 horsepower, 305 foot-pounds of torque, again 6-speed auto. So quite a new range of options, and there's pretty much a Chevy for you, whatever you want. So what's new with the new Silverado? Well, you've got 6 new front ends. All of them broadly share the same face. However, you do have this bar that comes across the center on which is affixed the Chevrolet bow tie. What I really like is that they've got rid of all the chrome. There's a lot less chrome on this car, so this black accent is really, really cool. I also love the little standout red here for the tow hooks. So in case you're wondering why this grille is so big now, it's actually for cooling, so it actually gives you much more cooling on the engine. It also does have active aero shutters on a couple of models. Now the face is kind of love it or hate it, but I think it looks pretty good, and I really like this plastic bit that intrudes almost into the headlight. It's really, really stylish, and you got like a vaguely carbon fiber detail down here on the headlight. You won't mistake it for anything else, let's be honest. So this car actually, by the way, all the trucks sit about an inch taller, but the Z71 pack cars, the Trail Boss in particular, sits 2 inches taller because it's got longer springs and shocks. It's also got a 2-speed transfer case with low range and different wheels and tires. So it's quite a good package. I mean, to be honest, most of you should get the lift kit. You can actually get separately for any Silverado, but I would go for the Trail Boss because it's the one that looks the meanest and looks the coolest, and I love these black details. So all these trucks are longer and wider, giving you more space. Because of all the little aero stuff they've done, these little details here and there, it's added up to about 17% improvement in aerodynamic efficiency. I'm not sure what the CD is, but for a truck, it's pretty good. If I just walk around to the side, it's still got that reg cab face. Now, one thing that people don't necessarily realize, these two-door trucks are basically only sold in 3 places in the world. America, obviously, Mexico, and the Middle East. And we are one of the world's biggest markets. I think we are the biggest market for the regular cab. So take a bow, Middle East people. And the reason people buy it out here is because it's a lifestyle vehicle. It's not a working vehicle. Most people out here buy the regular cab to tow their jet skis, to take their ATVs and quads. And you'll see that works out pretty well. But for most of us, it's a lifestyle car. And that's why this kind of off-road ready from the factory. These tires are actually very meaty Wrangler Duratracs. They're 275, 65, 18. And the idea is that the lift kit allows you to put bigger tires pretty much from the factory. That's what Chevy is saying. So I can imagine it wouldn't be too difficult to fit like a 285 or 33-inch tire. So let's walk around to the back. You'll see there's a lack of graphics. You can get there's like 100 accessories for it. But I just like this simple Trail Boss sticker. And it's pretty basic. The fender flares aren't too crazy. And of course you have the proper tailgate mounted step that allows you to get into the back. And I'll see if I can do this. Let me see if I can figure this out. All models, and I think just about all with the exception of the work truck, get a soft opening tailgate. Let's see if this works. Voila, a damp tailgate. And by the way, that's like real, yeah? Look at that. So if you get a high country, the high country actually goes up as well. It's power assisted. But of course, you're spending $214,000 for that. There's a lot of technology happening, but especially on these tail lights, which actually have rear cross traffic alert as standard. So there's a lot of technology happening. You also get blind spot and all of those things. Now, tie downs. This car has something like 12 tie downs. Actually, yeah, 12 tie downs, all these little rings here. And that's for tying down ATV or your stuff. Now, 12 tie downs means that each one, and I mean each one, can take up to 225 kilos each. So there's nothing that this car won't carry. This car comes with, I think, a drop-in bed liner. Actually, it's bed mat, but you can get spray-in bed liners as standard from the factory as well. It's a much stronger bed, so they say that basically you can drop anything on it and it won't get dented or scratched. Or the worst case is scratch. But yeah, it is a much more practical thing. I'll show you how easy it is to get in right now. Look at that. Much easier than my truck. So one of the cool things as well with this truck is that they have a rear view mirror, same as you have on a Cadillac, but now it's up here, it's not on a tailgate. So the idea is that if you have this high mounted thing, it's just like looking through your rear view mirror. So very cool, very simple. I think that's enough on the exterior. Let's take a look at the interior, shall we? In case you're wondering what's happened, don't be confused. We're doing a bit of cinematic magicry, and we've actually changed from the 2-door regular cab to a 4-door crew cab, still a Trail Boss. But I just wanted to show you how much improvement they have on the interior. So the Silverado has always been a very, very big vehicle, but now it's got 3 inches longer legroom in the back, so I can really stretch out. And if I was over 6 foot, there's a nice little indent here, so my head would fit. So the dear Shazab will actually fit in here. I think most of my tall friends will fit in here. It's actually a pretty spacious place to be. It's got some nice interior trims, etc. It's a little bit sandy because you've been off-road. But the biggest improvement in this car, and I won't be able to show it to you unfortunately, is that they have rear AC vents back here. Now, the old cars didn't have that. That was apparently the #1 complaint of people in the Middle East. Which if you think about it, kind of makes sense. You've also got a USB bit here and a micro USB. You've got cup holders and things, a drop-down little space here for your cups, and I have to spin the camera around to show this. Can you spin the camera around to show this? Yes, good man. So much room. This is one of the nicest things to see about this car. They got a little secret compartment. Now, I don't know who came up with this idea, but it's kind of genius. It's for kids' toys and iPads and things that you don't want to keep out exposed. But yeah, nice little space, and you can shove, it's very deep actually, you can put books in it if you want to. So it's a little storage thing, because they weren't quite sure what else to do. Of course, there is the traditional bit here under the seats where you can put stuff. They've got the jack here, and this long space, which I think is a gun rack, to be honest with you. I think it's a gun rack. Americans. All right, let's see what the front's like. Remember, we're in the 4-door, not the 2-door. Have I mentioned how much I love trucks, specifically red trucks? I should know. I own one. I think most of you have already seen it. So, what's new about the interior on the Silverado? Well, not a lot actually, because customers said they like the old interior, and here we are again. So it's not hugely different. It's a nice interior. I do think some of the competition has moved their game on in other ways, let's be honest. It starts with R. But it's a fine interior. It was a fine interior when I first drove it all those years ago in Washington, and it's still a good interior now. So lots of little things that they've improved that I like. Things that they've kept, the proper old school pull down gear stick. Things that they've got rid of is the old key that I didn't like. So now you've got this key here, a proper smart key, and there's a button down that's actually going to start the car. 5.3 V8, you can't go wrong with it. So, turn the AC down so it doesn't blow away at you. It's a nicely redesigned steering wheel, not too many buttons, not too much crazy stuff happening here. So you've got a 4-way jog dial for all the, this car's been deflated tires, so it's not safe to drive on the road. But little color screen down there. You get much bigger color screens obviously on the high countries. The Trail Boss is actually a pretty good off-road variant, so they're not throwing too much stuff at it to keep the price down. You've got cruise control down here. Not radar cruise control, again, that's for the high country, but pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Not too many buttons. Down the left, because this is all new, they've got a sport mode. What does it think? I don't know if it changed the engine or they just made like a thud noise. So that makes the gearbox a little bit more sharper, etc., the throttle and so on. You also got trailer mode, etc. You also got an auto mode for the 4x4. I don't know if they had that before, but it's very handy if you're doing like this light sand stuff. Of course, this is a 2-speed transfer case model, so you've got a 2 low, 2 high, a 4 high, and a proper 4 low. For cars that don't have it, like the 4-cylinder one, yeah, there's a 4-cylinder one, it actually has like a terrain mode that kind of mimics 4 low, so it's a software version. It works. I mean, we drove it off-road, it works. This car does not have a locking diff. It might have a locking diff. It's completely automatic. It's a G80 from Eaton, so you can't actually control how it locks up, but it does work. You've also got trailer lights in the back, auto headlights, and so on. Otherwise, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Look at this center dash. So you've got the 8-inch screen now, which is no longer MyLink. It's just sort of generic Chevrolet entertainment system, but it's pretty good. It's very easy to work with. You've got your audio, very, very simple. Phone. It's very responsive, isn't it? They've really improved the CPU speed on these new phones. Very, very handy. Users, how many users are you going to have? Is your kid going to drive this car? Climate. One thing, of course, everybody knows is that GM has some of the best ACs of any car. So in the summer, you don't have to worry about it at all. But if you do, there are redundant HVAC buttons for everything down here. So no futzing about with touch screens. Very, very simple. You've got a big row of piano keys, they call down here, which has a lot of options that would normally sort of scatter around, but they've consolidated down here. So you've got your hill descent, you've got, oh, I think this actually, it's a plug point. Look at that, for your laptop. It's kind of cool, actually. Traction control, the hazards button. This is the power tailgate drop. Yeah, that actually opened. It's kind of cool. Automatic stop start on and off. This truck now has stop start. Parking assist, and this is quite interesting. So they've got roll sensing airbags that can be switched off. Now in the old car, you had to put a key into the glove box and do it. Now with this one, you just hold it down for about 8 seconds, and that just goes off. You've also got USBs down here. You've got loads of USBs. Central let's see, plug point for cigarette lighters. Yes. Trailer brake, etc. And I don't know if you can come in close and see down here, but you've got Qi charging points. Oh, no, this is not the one with Qi charging point. This is just the regular old space, but pretty big cup holders, very, very sensible. And a massive bin with even more USBs and lots of drinks and sweets. So the Qi charging point cars actually have a new feature that I think I've not seen anybody else do before. So it's cooled. So charging is affected by heat, and Qi basically sends power through the air, so that tends to heat up through microwaves. It heats up the phone, and then eventually the phone starts slowing down and cutting back because it doesn't want the phone to overheat. But now this car is actually cooled, so it does not overheat. Very cool. Unfortunately, it's not on this one, but weirdly it was on the regular cab that we were just magically in. So other than that, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. They haven't futzed around with it too much. It's still a very comfortable, very easy truck to get used to. Personally, I thought I would love the reg cab, but I've actually grown to like this 4-door Trail Boss even more. So let's take a quick spin and see. Again, it's only a first try, but hopefully I'll get them in soon and we get to try them out. So let's take the Silverado for a ride. This is the Trail Boss model, so it's pretty much the same suspension across all of them. They do have, let me see if I can see this, interesting tire options. So they have Wrangler Duratrack tires. I'm not sure we quite get them in this market yet, but apparently they will for 2020. So what are we looking at? 8-speed auto on this one, 5.3 V8. Apparently it's not exactly the same engine, even though it has the same outputs. It's the L86. Hopefully I've got that right. I still like that they got the column shift here, and you've got a manual gear selector on the end of it. So it's in automatic mode for off-road. Let's see how it is. I mean, this is not really a long drive because I want to get an idea of what it's like off-road, because it is the Trail Boss, and we're just wandering around the Jumeirah Al Watba. So my cameraman's getting super bumped around. Hopefully he's not going to hate me. But let's see what the suspension's like. We go over some undulations here, and it's not bad. Going over some ruts, going over a bump. Not bad. Not bad at all. And I've completely gone the wrong way. Okay, we've got to go around. But traction control is firing. I'd better turn traction control off. Same as before, hold the button down for 8 seconds. Traction control off comes, and then ESP off. That's more like it. All right. The longer crew cab is slightly more settled, but both the Trail Boss suspensions are pretty good. The RST was a little stiffer than I like, but that's more of a road-focused version. It's the same car, it's just basically a sticker and tape package. So I'm going to overtake one of my esteemed colleagues. He's driving away. Alrighty then. The ride's pretty good for the crew cab, actually. This new suspension is pretty well sorted. I mean, this is bumpy, We've deflated the tires a little bit, but not a lot. I think it's like 20 psi. These are running on, I believe, 20s. So it's much better than even the old steel spring suspension. So well done, GM. It's bumpy, but what sort of off-roading this is good for? Well, I think it's not really like, let me see if I can get this right. Cameraman's flying all over the place, right? I don't think it's really meant for hardcore off-roading like Leva and the like. It'll do most of the stuff that people need to, the beach, camping, etc. It could do it, and I'm quite keen to get the actual final car, which is this one, probably this exact car, and see take it in the dunes and see what's what. But it's not meant to be like a hardcore off-road car. But for this kind of thing, it's absolutely fine. It's very comfortable, the AC is superb, steering's quite agile. I mean, the car feels nice and pliant as we go up and over bumps. It actually does feel pretty good. I mean, for a stock truck and running on leaf springs. Is it better than the competition? I don't know if anybody can decide that for you, but it is very well spec'd. Pricing's very keen. I mean, this car is 170,000 dirhams as it sits, plus your usual options, whatever. I'll go back on the road, so I'm switching to two-wheel drive. I hope I'm on the road. I don't know where I am. This is a hugely confusing area. All right, I'm going past the fruit van. And now we're back on the road, so we get a chance to do a bit of road driving as well. Lovely noise from the V8. 8-speed auto is pretty quick. No, it's a little mushy on the shift sometimes, but it's fine. I'm pretty happy with it. Performance-wise, it feels really good. It may be only 355 horsepower. I know the other people are promising more, but it feels plenty enough with this truck. Downsides. Not many, really. The regular cab RST, as I mentioned, is a little bit stiffer than I'd like. There's not quite as much space inside on the two-door. This four-door feels fine now, and there's acres of room back here. You can put pretty much anybody. Let's see what it's like. I'm just going through a little bend. I do want to go off-road, but I feel like this is going to get me into trouble because this is a camel track. I don't know where this camel track goes. It's still a very nice truck, the Silverado. It has that feel-good factor that's missing. It feels like a truck's truck. It's not trying to be a luxury car. It's not trying to be all singing, all dancing technology fest. It's just trying to be a good Chevy, and that's what it's good at. Like, we took it into the dunes. It was fine, actually. I mean, it did everything you want. So if I was buying my Silverado, I probably go higher on specs. So I might go for an LTZ, which is the higher options model. I'd get the lift kit, so the Rancho lift kit. Change the wheels and tires. And oh, by the way, you can also get a whole bunch of accessories. You can get a catback exhaust, you can get an intake, and they actually can be retuned for them. For do that, you go back to the dealer. The idea is they want you to keep going back to the dealer. But there is a lot of accessories as well. Lots of cool little stripes and tapes and things that I really quite like. Haven't seen on a long time in cars. A lot of customization options. It makes it very 70s. One other downside is I'm not crazy about these instruments. There are these D-shaped instrument rings. They remind me a little bit of the Suzuki Jimny. So I'm not mega crazy about that. But honestly, apart from that, it is a very good entry in the truck segment. And I think for most people, it's going to be more than enough. It's also priced really well. And it's a proper V8. It's not a V6 pretending to be a V8. So yeah, I think I'm going to say Silverado, first drive, quite happy with it. Trail Boss, quite happy with it. And that's really it from me. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and all the rest. Until next time.